Good evening, all. It's so nice to be back relatively unmasked, and I know some people are still taking their seats. Okay, okay.
The TV people are watching.
Okay. Good evening. Is that better? Okay. I call this meeting to order. And thank you all for being here. Madam Clerk. That's exciting. Madam Clerk, has the warrant been duly posted and a quorum present?
Yes, it has.
Thank you. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
And if I could just take one quick minute before we get into the meeting. I know everybody knows him, but we want to make sure and give recognition and a congratulations to our new town administrator, Chris Britton.
Thank you very much, Patty, and I would like to take a quick second to also introduce our new town clerk, Rachel Armstrong.
So thank you all. At this time, I would like to review some town meeting rules, and as you will all notice, Chris is sitting closest to the podium. Because we do have a new town clerk, and because although I've been in this role for 3 years, I don't get a lot of opportunity to practice this. So we did use the clickers the last time we met on the football field on that bright sunny day. We obviously did not have this, so I think we will do a practice question for everyone's benefit in just a moment. I would like to just remind you that all registered voters of the town of Lee will have a right to speak. Town representatives will be allowed to speak one time prior to registered voters. No one is allowed to debate more than twice per motion, and each debate will be limited to 5 minutes. I brought my egg timer back. This thing is 3 minutes, but I can flip it for roughly 5. Debate may be further limited or extended by a 2/3 vote. A person who is not a registered voter of the town of Lee will require a majority vote of representatives to speak. When speaking, please state your full name and district, and please speak into the microphone. CTSB, Central Television of the Southern Berkshires, is obviously recording. The AV is being run tonight by our good friend Matt Filio, and he has asked me to reinforce that message. Please speak into the microphones clearly. All debate must relate to the motion and be directed through me, through the moderator, so we are not speaking to each other. The debate flows this way and then back out again. And before making any motion or debate, you must be recognized by the moderator. So with that, we'd like to try our hand again at a practice question with our clickers. And I don't know if I haven't given much thought to the practice question, but I don't know, does anyone have a good question? The Academy Awards are this weekend. I don't know, will West Side Story win Best Picture? That's my question, but.
Do you want me to go?
Yes, thank you, Chris.
So just now that we have the screen, just to make sure we're all set here, what you're noticing is when you cast that vote, your name is going to turn to blue. That will let you know that your vote is in. And as long as it's changed to blue, your vote is there. Whatever your clicker says, if it's 1, you have a vote for yes, and 2, a vote for no, etc. As long as when the vote's closed, the vote that you want is in that clicker, that was what will be cast. Anybody have any questions? Now, once the vote is closed, all of your names will turn from blue to either red, green, or yellow. So red, you voted no; green, you voted yes; yellow, you abstained. And then you will see the tally at the top, and it will say whether it passed or failed. So are we ready to close this?
So if I may, Chris, and I do have the instructions from the last time. So let me just read these couple of fine points. So as Chris said, you press the button on the keypad that matches your desired vote. Your vote is submitted, it's sent automatically, and the town clerk will see it on the laptop. Only keys 1, 2, and 3 will be active. 1 is yes, 2 is no, and 3 is an abstention. Your choice will appear on your keypad digital display confirming receipt of the vote. And just for the record, you may correct your previous votes as long as the polling is open. Only your last vote counts when voting has been closed. So the voting is open. Will West Side Story win Best Picture?
Yeah.
And the vote is now closing.
Does somebody have one that's not working?
I think we have to close this first, and then we have to explain if we want to advance.
Well, it wouldn't now.
Could do another test.
Jeremiah works. So when you read these, do we implement the whole? No. Don't you have the motions? I do.
Okay.
We will never get out of here. No, it's public.
Okay, I think that we have some of the technical issues resolved now with our clickers, yes? Everyone feels confident? Okay. I also just, before we continue, I wanted to thank Beth Mead again from Land Use. Many of you know Beth, who's always very helpful at town meeting. And I also want to thank Chief Craig DeSantis and Sergeant Rich Roy for being here tonight. Thank you. So everyone has all the material from the mailing and from the pickup here tonight. Just to reiterate, the purpose of this meeting is to address a number of bylaw changes and additions that have been postponed for the last 2 years due to the pandemic. In addition, there are several budgetary articles that were added to more efficiently address the needs of the town. And so we have summarized all of the articles. You all, I believe, have the warrant. And so now we will proceed to Article 1. And I know that Article 1 is the Community Preservation Act bylaws. And I believe that, is Sarah Navin? Yes. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, right, I'm sorry. I believe that, yes, Susan, I'm looking, there we go.
We have to put it on.
Yes, okay, I'm just trying to make sure I can see everybody. Please,
Not yet. We
okay.
have to start.
All set?
So, Article 1 is to see if the town will vote to adopt the following Community Preservation Act bylaws or take any other action relative thereto. And it continues.
Madam Moderator, I move the town vote to adopt the following Community Preservation Act as published in the special town meeting warrant.
Second.
Okay, so if there is discussion, thank you. And remember, name and address, district. Thank you.
Valerie Blum, District 2. Madam Moderator, I move the proposed written amendment, which includes the following changes. A total of 9 members, 4 citizen members, replacing Selectmen and Finance Committee with Youth and Housing Authority, creating annual terms for planning, conservation, historical, youth, and housing, and creating 2 2-year terms and 2 3-year terms for at-large members.
Thank you. Is there a second? Okay, so we have a motion to amend Article 1. Is there discussion, questions about the motion to amend as we just heard it described by Ms. Bloom? Yes,
Okay.
Madam Chair.
We just have a couple of questions, or I do anyways. We've looked into this a little bit since we found out about it. And number one, we found out Finance Committee by law cannot be on this. So that creates a space there. And I guess my question would be, what is the reason you don't want a Board of Selectmen on this committee? Oh, sorry.
Hi, my name is Susan Stone. I'm from the Historical Commission, and we sort of spearheaded the CPA. To answer your question, Patty, the Select Board already has the power and the authority to establish a budget for the municipality. That funding comes from the top down. It's your mandate. That's what you do. The philosophy of the CPA, rather, is to collect ideas and projects from the citizens. of the town that are affected by this CPA. The CPA was was passed to promote projects that deal with community of life issues for the community, things that do not fit into the municipal budget. So we want input from voting members that for their ideas and their projects that would come from a fund from the bottom up, that the money that has been collected by the surcharges and the state contributions comes from this, is directed from the town up. And it's not going to be influenced by the needs of the financial budgetary needs of those governing entities. Does that make any sense to you? I have it written down
Yes,
here,
and I
but-
don't have a really strong opinion about this, Susan.
No.
It's just most of the CPA committees do have a member of the Board of Selectmen on them. And
Not around here.
Yes, they do.
Great Barrington does.
Yes.
And, but.
Stockbridge does too.
I think
I looked them up
Stockbridge, the way Stockbridge is, they get to appoint two of the at-large members, but I don't believe that they are.
I just read it on there.
Great Barrington does have
Today.
the select board.
I don't
on.
know about Lennox. It was just a question.
Yeah. And if there's a strong feeling about it, we could have 3 at-large members and have the select board on it. It's just how, I guess the fear is of being influenced by the town budget needs. And we don't want to be using CPA funds for,
Of course, they're only one vote.
they are, but they're pretty powerful people. We respect them.
All right, that's all. I just wanted to.
Any other
know.
questions? Did I explain that? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Stone. Any other questions or discussion on the motion to amend? Yes.
I get,
Yes.
my question would be about the Finance Committee. Is there a problem, is there an issue with the Finance Committee serving on the board?
It's the same, it would be the same thing. That would be the same issue because the Finance Committee is mandated to do town, the monies, the taxes, the money, that's their job. And we don't want the possibility of having money, being asked to finance municipal projects.
Thank you, Selectman Renier. I had the same question, so Ms. Stone, if you can just hold that for 1 second, because as you've written this, in item number 3, you're suggesting replacing Selectmen and Finance Committee with Youth and Housing Authority.
Right.
So now, I believe, as Ms. Carlino suggested, the Finance Committee would not be part of that? Is that correct?
They can't.
They
by
cannot
law.
be, right. So that's what I thought I
They
heard.
have their own law that
Right.
prohibits them from belonging to another committee.
So we would simply take and Finance Committee out, as written here from your motion to amend.
And the select board.
If we vote that way.
That's,
We have to vote it in.
It's
first.
it's
Vote
up
that
to you.
in.
But definitely we need the housing authority. That's required by law. And we definitely need the youth commission because that's the commission in town that deals with recreational programming. And that's a big part of CPA. It's open space, affordable housing, recreation, and historical commission. And the money is allotted. There has to be 10% to affordable housing, 10% to open space, and 10% to historical commission, and that's in the law. So we really would want the youth on that.
Well, most towns have parks and commissions. We don't. So that's why we're putting the
That's fine.
youth commission.
thank you, Madam Chair, thank you. Any other questions or discussion on the motion to amend, which would take Article 1 and add a total of 9 members for citizen members, replace the selectmen with the Youth and Housing Authority, and create annual terms for planning, conservation, historical, youth, and housing, create 2 two-year terms and 2 three-year terms for at-large members. If there is no further discussion, we will now open the vote on the motion to amend.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the Community Preservation Act as provided in the written amendment.
We already did it.
Okay.
It already been moved.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, she's doing it right now. There we go.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So the voting is now open on the motion to amend. A yes vote would amend. That would be. Okay. And in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we will now close the vote.
Thank you.
So the motion to amend passes. And now we will return to the main motion to see if the town will vote to adopt the Community Preservation Act bylaws as so amended. Yes, yes. Yes, and so, yes, thank you. And if you have something you'd like to say too, we will, please come forward. So I'm looking to see if there is any further discussion on the main motion, Article 1, as you have in your packet and as so just amended. Yes, please.
Thank you. Madam Moderator.
And please, I'm sorry, tell us who you are again. Thank you.
Yes, I am Bill Matthews,
Thank you.
a member of the Lee Historical Commission
Thank you, Mr.
and
Matthews.
a resident of 2, of District 2 on High Street. I would like to make some remarks relevant to Article 1, which is now under consideration. By adopting the new language for this CPA committee bylaw introduced by Valerie Bloom, we are dodging a bullet. A new bylaw always gets submitted to the Attorney General's office for review before it goes into effect. The Article 1 bylaw, as published in the warrant, is seriously flawed and would surely fail that review. But its rejection would not be communicated back to us until sometime this summer, throwing the committee's formation back by an entire year. We must be wary of such backsliding. We have no time to lose on such missteps. These are important years. The pool of matching funds from the state has never been higher than it is today. Once formed, this committee will have a lot to learn. Starting from zero on the learning curve, it will need solid experience to equal our neighbors in its wisdom. Stockbridge, Lenox, Great Barrington, Pittsfield, even Beckett are way ahead of us in knowing how to make the Community Preservation Act work effectively to improve their towns. Stockbridge, for example, enacted CPA more than 20 years ago. Equally, Our not-for-profits and governmental units will also have a substantial learning curve, identifying appropriate projects in their domains. For our town, CPA is a new tool, operating on broader participatory principles than we are accustomed to. We are latecomers. More than half the towns in the Commonwealth have already learned to derive significant benefits from this CPA legislative mechanism. I'm confident that we will also learn in Lee how to employ the forward-looking purpose of this act to good effect if we accept the challenge with requisite humility and goodwill. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Any further discussion on Article 1?
Yeah, you don't have to, as long as whatever you have on your clicker when it closes is gonna.
Okay, so that was my question. So I don't think anybody's going to change their mind. I think, whoever voted for it, I think is still going to do it. But it was just a point of order. So that's the way it's going to work. As long as it's blue, we can, if anybody wanted to change their mind, they could. Okay,
Until
great.
it closes
Thank you.
with, if it says 1 in your little screen, you're voting yes. If
Yeah,
it's 2,
okay. No,
but you can
I
keep
get that.
changing it until it closes.
I didn't know if we
yeah.
needed to clear it and start
Yeah.
again. I just want to make sure we're still good.
They're not locked in until they close. Yep.
Thank you, that is helpful. So if there's no further discussion now on Article 1, and I believe we have had a motion now to take a vote. Has that been seconded? I think yes, okay. So we'll proceed now. And again, if you're voting for Article 1, you would click 1. If you're voting against, you would click 2, and an abstention would be 3. So we will open the voting now. And in 5, 4, 3 seconds, we will close the vote. I'm sorry, just 1 second, please, if you wouldn't mind. So I believe that Article 1 has passed, as everyone can see, by that vote, 43. It's passed unanimously. If there is another concern or a point of order, please, if you can come to the mic so everyone can hear, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Madam Moderator, Cornelia Kalisher, District 4. I think there's people up there who are not here tonight.
Yeah, so every rep's name is up there, all 60 of them, but if they're, it only counts the people who are here voting, so.
All right, thank you.
Thank
So
you.
if they're in gray, they're not here.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. Okay, so moving on to Article 2, I will turn it over to Town Administrator Britton.
No, to Patty.
I'm sorry, this is the master plan update. Madam Chair, thank you.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $75,000 from available funds for the purpose of completing a master plan update. Second, Sean.
Oh, yeah. Second.
Article 2, if there's any discussion, please.
Cornelia Kalish, District 4. I've spoken to this before at other town meetings. I'm totally in support of a master plan, absolutely. It's high time to redo it again, but last time we did this years ago, had a survey of town residents. And I don't see that in here, to have a survey of what people feel about things ahead of time. So I don't know how that would be implemented this time.
I don't understand what you're asking.
Last time we did a master plan,
It's 20 years ago.
we did a whole town survey of how to use.
That's
allocate-
part of the master plan, is doing the survey.
Okay, so that would be
Doesn't
part of
happen
that?
first. It's part of
Okay,
the process.
okay. Because I felt very strongly that I'd put a lot of time into doing that survey, putting my input at meetings, and then never happened, really. And so I would really want that adhered to this time. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Ms. Kalischer. Yes.
Buck Donovan, District 1. So is this 75 total, or is this in addition to the money that we've already allocated?
Yeah, it would be an addition, so the total would go to 125,000.
It's a lot.
So the original amount that was appropriated at the last town meeting was $50,000. The idea behind that was that that would be done by a regional planning agency, which is a government-supported agency like BRPC. So they can do it for about half the price because they get tax money from us and so forth. The select board wanted to also consider some private consultants, and because they're not supported by taxes as BRPC is, the price does increase by at least twice as much. So.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. And in the back, if you can, thank you.
Ann Langless, District 2. Did we not vote on this last year? If anybody remembers that we voted down giving the money to Berkshire Regional Planning Commission to do this. And I just wanted to remind people that we did already vote that down, and this is just part of a continuation, and that we do need to have the extra funds to be able to do an outside source. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Langless. Anyone else? Madam Chair?
I just want to point out that whether you go with an outside source or the Regional Planning Commission, this is their job to service the towns in Berkshire County, we would like to have one done. Then the question is, do you want to pay $125,000 or $50,000? The price is still good from Berkshire Regional.
Janet Warner, District 4. So when this all happened a couple of months ago, and you guys decided to go and look at another source, I really didn't understand much about what Berkshire Regional Planning Commission did. And I've since done a little bit more research. And in my personal opinion, I didn't think that they were part of any kind of conspiracy against Lee. And for what a master plan is, from what I understand, it is kind of like a blueprint for us. And it's also necessary, as my friend Kathy Hall has pointed out, it's necessary to have a master plan in order to apply for grants. And so I feel like I was wrong to have the opinion I did about Berkshire Planning Commission. And for what we're looking for in a master plan, I'd rather save the $75,000 and keep it as opposed to looking at another source. So even though I had yes written that I was going to vote for this, I'm reconsidering, and I think I'm going to vote no. And so I just want to make sure if I vote no, it means that we would only have the $50,000 and probably go with the Berkshire Regional Planning Commission. Is that how it goes?
Yes. Mr.
Sean Renier, Select Board. Yeah, I just wanted to put a little bit more context behind your question too. And I think that from my perspective and from what the feedback that I got, there was a number of people that reached out to me before the meeting when we were discussing BRPC's proposal for the master plan, and there was quite a few people at the meeting who were interested in looking at other options. And I guess in order to do that, we would need additional money. So why we're here, that's kind of why we're here. And to your point, I think I just wanted to add, I'm reading through their proposal. It was very thorough. It was very professional. I think that it would be a satisfactory job to update the master plan going with BRPC, but that's just kind of the context for why we're here potentially looking to add funds to that so that we can look elsewhere.
I still am going to stick with, I think I'd rather save the $75,000 and go with Berkshire Regional. So I'm going to personally vote no on this, unless somebody can
Just to
talk me.
clarify, Janet, it doesn't mean that's not open to any other private concern that would want to put a bid in. It's just, we're not going to get one at that price from a private concern.
For what the master plan is, which is an important blueprint, but as people have pointed out to me when I talked to them about this, the last master plan couldn't anticipate the changes in 20 years of, cannabis being around or other types of plans. It's a blueprint. It's not like a Bible to me. Thank you.
Just add one, sorry, go ahead, John. Go ahead. I was just going to add, there's kind of a third option, if you will. We are in the process of, and put an expression of interest in on a grant for $75,000 that for a master plan as well. So if the problem is we won't know about that grant until probably October or November. So if this is passed tonight and the grant comes through, we won't need to use the money. The other option, of course, if this does not pass tonight, we can either try to get it done right away, or we can wait and see, but it's going to delay, it would delay that. If we decide to use a private consultant, we would be waiting till the fall to see on the grant. So I just wanted to mention that is in progress as well.
Thank you, yes.
John Cody, District 3. I just want the taxpayers at home to realize what this body is, how they're spending their tax dollars. We're actually supporting Berkshire Regional Planning with our tax dollars, and now we want to sidestep that and spend even more money on it. It's a decision for the town as a whole, but I just want taxpayers at home to know how we're spending their money.
Thank you, Mr. Cody.
Peter Hoffman, District 6. If we pass this, it doesn't automatically mean you're going with a private company. You're going to evaluate what a private company would offer, compare it to what the Regional Planning Commission would offer, and make a decision. This just gives you flexibility to look at options, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman.
I'm not a rep, Madam Chair. Can I be recognized?
Yes.
I'm Peter Blum. I live on Orchard Street, District 2. I'm a member of the Planning Board, and I reviewed the proposal from the Regional Planning Commission. I'm familiar with the Regional Planning Commission staff. They're quite competent people. I thought the proposal was thorough and well considered. It provided plenty of opportunity for citizens of Lee to have input on it. I think they're competent to draft a proposal for our review by the Planning Board, by the Selectmen, and by the town. And I think that the quality of the plan will depend much more on the quality of the input we get from the citizens of Lee than it will from our decision as to whom we hire. So I don't vote on this because I'm not a rep, but I think that if the motion fails, I think we still have a great opportunity to have a new plan prepared by the Regional Planning Commission that meets our needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blum. Yes.
Richard Britton, District 4. What's the matter with the Berkshire County Regional Planning Plan? I don't get it. I mean, dealt with them for years. I just don't understand why we didn't want to go with them.
It was a vote by the Board of Selectmen to go outside.
Why?
It was a vote by the Board of Selectmen.
No, I mean the reason.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I
Can
can't
you guys
really-
answer it for me, please?
I can't give you the
I mean, I've
answer.
been on the Zoning Board of Appeals for about 18 years, and we've dealt with these people, have never found them to be bad. I mean, I'm just curious. And we were looking to spend an additional $75,000 of taxpayer money for what? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. I think that's ultimately just why we're here, is to put it in front of the reps for the decision. From my perspective, like I had said, a number of people had expressed to me that they would like to at least consider other options to see what else is out there, different firms, and that sort of thing. So that's ultimately why we're here. In order to do that, we would need an additional sum of money. It doesn't necessarily, like some of the discussion has been, it doesn't necessarily mean we can't go with BRPC in the end.
Yes.
Claire Leahy.
Thank you.
Claire, get closer.
Claire Leahy.
There.
I just wanted to dispel the idea that we thought this was some sort of conspiracy out there. The facts is Berkshire Regional Planning Board helped us do a fantastic plan last year. And there's a lot of items in here that could have been fulfilled, and they haven't. The most important thing is for somebody to take this plan and go ahead and fulfill it. All the information is here. To think that somebody has to go out and take $75,000 to pretty much, the plan is here. It's just updating it. So the problem was that Berkshire Planning Commission says in this study that they did for us, the open space plan, they very clearly were opposed to the dump and suggested that we fight it as hard as we could. I will just read one of the paragraphs out of the 2016. This is the final paragraph. The rest of river communities, Sheffield, Great Barrington, Stockbridge, Lee, Lennox, and Pittsfield submitted a joint letter responding to the EPA's cleanup plan, which stated that they all adamantly oppose a local landfill for contaminated materials, and that GE should remain legally responsible for the contamination in perpetuity, and that the municipalities should be provided full opportunity to review and provide input on site-specific cleanup plans as they are developed, that GE should be responsible to deal with the impacts of its pollution on all third parties, property owners, businesses, and the municipalities, and that all hazardous waste disposal facilities, including temporary storage areas, haul roads, dewatering facilities, and loading facilities, should be subject to the Massachusetts Hazardous Waste Facility Siting Act. I sat in on all these planning sessions, and I had full faith in these guys, and I really was appreciative of the work they did. I've been on 5 OSRP plans over the past 20 years or so, every 4 years. I've been on 3, sorry. I get exaggerating here a bit. But the point is Berkshire Regional Planning Board was counseling the rest of the river municipality committee.
Claire, I'm sorry, I have
Can
to
I
interrupt here.
Finish.
Berkshire Regional was not counseling. They were just
They were
facilitating.
there at all your meetings, and they're still with you at all your meetings that you're having monthly. And that makes me feel uncomfortable with them, and that was the reason. Now, whether or not we can trust them to go ahead with this, I would like to see them myself. I'm having a change, and I don't want to have the town spend an extra $75,000. I think they could truly update this. It's all here. There's been a lot of work done, and it would be much less expensive. So I am just telling you, I'm taking away my objection. I was the one that spoke up at the last meeting, and I'm explaining why. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leahy.
I'm Bill Matthews again from District 2. I
Yes.
just wanted to clarify, I believe Mrs. Leahy is speaking about the OSRP, not the master plan.
Yeah,
Yes.
if I may, we're doing them, it happens that they're being updated at the same time, so we're doing them
So
jointly.
does this cover both of them?
Yes.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just a point of it, there is an additional 15,000 that's already been allocated for the open space.
Okay, yes, sir? Ma'am, I can't see that far. Thank you.
I would just like to say that I am opposed.
Please.
To having, I'm Gail Cerisia.
Yes.
I'm opposed to having a dump in our town, and I think this master plan is going to have to show us to have a dump in the town from this organization. So I would say that I would like to appropriate the $75,000 and then go for the grant and hope we get it.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. Any further? Yes, please. Ms. Kalisher, thank you.
Thank you. I was wondering, just listening to everything, I haven't decided yet myself which way to vote. Would it be possible to approve this money contingent upon getting the grant?
Contingent upon what?
Getting the grant?
Well, not really, because we would wait one way or the other. So if it was contingent on the grant, we would just decide to wait till
I see.
October or November to proceed with this in that case, and you wouldn't have to vote for this tonight. So
I see.
this would get it started now with the hopes of that we would get a grant, but not a guarantee.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further discussion, I'm sorry, yes, Selectman Jones, I'm sorry.
Hi, I just wanted to, I was one of the 2 selectmen who voted to not go straight away with Berkshire Planning and to look at other options. I, like you, represent the voters of the town of Lee. And I heard from a number of them, and the concern was, of course, the Berkshire Regional Planning is part of Rest of the River. And I'll use Patty's word, yes, they were the facilitators for a toxic waste dump. Now, this is for a town plan. It's also for an open space and recreation plan. And speaking simply for myself and for the voters that I speak to, I can't understand why the town of Lee would want to hire somebody for planning who have contributed to a plan for a toxic waste dump in the town of Lee. Now, this extra $75,000 is to get another price or another few prices to see what's possible. I don't know that we'll be able to do that, but that $75,000 isn't spent. It's saying we could use it if we can come up with another plan. If I know if I'm going to put a roof on my house, I don't call one person and get one bid. So we're not committing to cutting Berkshire Regional Planning out of this, but we are looking at other options, and that's what this is about.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. So seeing no further discussion, we will proceed to the vote on Article 2, the master plan update, and we will open the voting now. And we will close the voting in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Not working.
No.
Gotta wait till it's closed.
Got it? Okay, maybe we're far back.
Okay, I think we have 5 seconds on the clock for the vote. Want to make sure everyone who wants to vote on Article 2 has now voted. The vote will now close. And as you can see, so this is one of those things about the clickers. The Article 2 fails. 22 against and 21 for. We will now move to Article 3, which is the general bylaw amendment.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend Chapter 125, Section 1 by striking the words "for not less than a 12-month period," so that, if approved, the bylaw shall read, Pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 57, the town collector or other municipal official responsible for records of all municipal taxes, assessments, betterments, and other municipal charges hereinafter referred to as the collector shall annually furnish to each department, board, commission, or division hereinafter referred to as the licensing authority that issues licenses or permits, including renewals and transfers, a list of any person, corporation, or business enterprise hereinafter referred to as the party that has neglected or refused to pay any local taxes, fees, assessments, betterments, or other municipal charges, and that such party has not filed in good faith a pending application for an abatement of such tax or a pending petition before the appellate tax board, or take any other action relative thereto.
I'll second it.
Article 3 has been moved and seconded, and if there is any discussion, please come forward.
Hi, Gordon Bailey, District 4.
Yes, Mr. Bailey.
A quick explanation from what I understand this is, years ago, we adopted this section of law. It's actually it's a local option law that says, and the way it reads in the legislature is that if you're getting a tax bill and you don't pay your taxes, let's just pick April 1st, and you don't pay it by April 1st, that on April 2nd, you can't get a permit in town to do anything. You can't get a liquor license. You can't get a building permit to re-roof your house if it's leaking. There's nothing. So when we originally adopted this, we actually gave a 12-month grace period, which seems to be a problem. I know I talked to Donna about this, and I realized that
Gordon, you need to speak
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, I hate to have my back to everybody, or my back to you guys. Either way. Yeah, I understand why 12 months is a problem, because we absolutely have people in town who play the game and they don't pay their taxes on a timely basis. But I think that it's also pretty draconian to say that the very next day, if somebody's in Florida, they don't get their tax bill, or they don't, because we have taxes due twice a year, if they're at all miscommunicated with, or they're sick or whatever, I see that as a problem for them to not be able to renew licenses or get a permit to help out with a problem in their house. I can also see why 12 months was too much. I don't see an opportunity as I'm reading this to be able to insert, for more than, I was going to suggest 3 months. Give them a 3-month time where they're back in the area, they can talk about it, and I don't know how to amend this or where I can stick it in here, but I think a little bit of grace period. 12 months has been too much, but I can see how a little something like 3 months might give that unique situation where somebody misses it or is sick or out of town or whatever. And I don't think that many people take advantage of this loophole of 12 months to keep going on things. I don't know if anybody has a suggestion of where I could put that, whether it's to the town attorney, but if so, I'd be happy to make that motion to give just a little bit of wiggle room.
I don't have the old law in front of me, but I think I know where it is. So it would be that has neglected or refused to pay any local taxes, fees, assessments, betterments, or other municipal charges. I think right after there is where it would go.
Okay.
So
for
if you're
more
offering
than 3 months,
whatever your amendment is, yeah.
then I'll put it in writing. I know that
Gordon,
I need to do that. Yes.
Gordon, could I just ask
Yes.
you, before you make
Yeah.
your amendment, and you
Sure.
can think about it a little bit, I know the treasurer's here, and she
And
has
I
to
know,
address
I've
that.
talked to her about
I
it.
didn't know if you wanted
and
to wait till she spoke.
I'd be willing to sit down and write an amendment while she speaks, as long as I'm allowed to come back and propose the amendment. Yeah, because I think Donna, we need to hear from Donna for sure. Okay?
Why don't we do that?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Treasurer Toomey is recognized.
Hi, Donna Toomey, Treasure Collector.
Get closer.
Okay, is this better? This bylaw mirrors Mass General Law, and Mass General Law has removed the 12-month language. And that's why we'd like to update this. It makes my job easier. We try to work with people. Yes, their permit gets denied that day. Usually they call and we work it out. It's a good heads up that they owe it, and it gives us some leverage to collect that. If you'd like to say 1 month, I'm agreeable to that, but I think 3 is not.
Can we do that,
feasible.
though, other than, or do we have to adopt state law?
Right.
If we're,
I don't think we do, but like I said, there's also in this law, further down in this bylaw, where we can arrange with the taxpayer a payment plan. So it's not always just no. You know, we can work something out with them. And, you know, we might deny it one day, and 2 days later, we work it out. They come in and we work it out, so.
and am I correct when I say to you, for the most part, these types of issues are business owners?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'd say the
not-
majority of them are business owners, developers, but we do have a lot of people, personal property, second homeowners that don't pay their personal property, and there's no other way for me to collect the personal property. We can't lien their real estate. So this has been a very effective tool to collect that from second homeowners.
Just a clarification, Don, just correct me if I'm wrong, but if they applied for the permit and they were denied because they owed taxes, if they came in the next day and paid them, then we're going to approve the
Absolutely,
permit.
absolutely.
So it's not like we're
No,
gonna be held
it's
up
not
for an
final.
extra 3
It's just a
months.
little bit of a delay, you know, but typically, most people work it out with us in an acceptable way, and we're able to grant the permit
Even
within
if
a
they-
week,
yeah.
you know.
If
it's
they were a
just-
day late.
Or, right,
they
if they're a
could-
day
they could
late,
come
I mean.
pay it, and they're still
yeah.
going to get their permit a day later.
Exactly, it's kind of a reminder to them. Oh, it gives them a little red flag, I've got to call and figure out what this is. Lots of times, a lot of people have just forgotten or lost their bill or something, and they come in and they pay it, and then the next day, we release a hold on the permit. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. So do we have a motion to amend, I'm sorry, yes.
I'm back.
Yes, Mr. Bailey.
Gordon Bailey,
Yes.
District 4. So what I am writing here, and I will convey to the table, is a motion to amend Article 3 to read, to insert after the words neglected or refused to pay, to insert the words for not less than 2-month period. I'll split the difference with Don. To a 2-month period, and then continue to say that any local taxes, fees, et cetera. So it just gives a 2-month because, you know, I still think there are going to be situations where if someone's ill, out of town, in Europe, who knows what's going to happen about travel, that things shouldn't be shut off the very next day. But I do realize that the collector needs some negotiating tools and not allow things to go 12 months. So that would be my motion.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Yes, if you can come to the,
John Cody, District 3, I'd like to second that motion.
oh, okay, thank you. Thank you, I didn't realize that. Okay. So we do have in hand, and as Mr. Bailey just explained to us, we have a motion to amend Article 3. Thank you, Treasurer Toomey, for the clarifications. So as you're looking at your warrant article, if you look at the bottom of Article 3, if you go up from the bottom of that paragraph, 4 lines, the second half of the line, just as Mr. Bailey explained to us now, that has neglected or refused to pay, we would insert the words, the language, for not less than a 2-month period, and then it would continue. Any local taxes, fees, assessments. That motion to amend has been seconded. And has now come forward to the table. Yes?
Did you say not less than 2 months or not more than 2 months?
both, I have written here and I heard for not less than a 2-month period. Right.
It should be more, right?
It should, right, the prior language is neglected or refused. I agree, it would be not more. So strike that less and make that, less is more.
In other words, you're giving them a 2-month grace.
It would be a 2-month grace period. Thank you.
Why don't we just say for more than a 2-month period?
It should be for no more than 2 months.
Right.
Right?
So,
Yeah. What did I write?
you read that one, right?
For this to be clear, why don't we say for 2 or more months?
Where is that going, Jeremiah? Where?
Same spot.
So you'd say, has neglected or refused to pay any
for
local
2 or
tax
more months.
pay
More than 2 months.
for 2 months or more?
Yeah.
No, the way the current one reads was less, and so it's got to be,
time
it allows them to get it for less than than if they're behind less than 2 months. If they're behind more than 2 months, they can't.
Ah,
right.
I see why we said that.
So it stays the same there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it stays the same, not less.
This is why amendments on the floor are so fun.
We're going to need it read again, I'm sorry.
Oh, God, hi. Oh. May I ask?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Hall. Yes, please.
I'm confused. If someone comes in and...
Get closer, Peggy.
I'm sorry.
sorry.
Can you hear
Ms.
me?
Byron. Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
I'm Peg Byron, and I
Yes.
live at 42 Park Street, and I am in District 5.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. If someone goes into the tax office and I've always been told they work with the people if there's a problem. Some people get unemployed, some people become ill, and they can't always maybe meet that day. The tax, I've always been told, maybe rightfully, wrongfully, the tax people try to work with them and try to help them at some point, maybe make a partial payment or things of that nature. I'm just confused by this. So I would just wonder if there was clarification on this particular issue, because I've always been told that people, if they come in and people get unemployed, they get ill, things happen to people, they have
Correct.
tough times. And I was just wondering how that works, if I can ask that.
Yes, thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, we do try to work with people, so they could enter into a payment plan agreement. We try to help them get funding other places. We have the elderly tax fund that we use. There's senior exemptions. Sometimes we can refer them to other services to help. So there are a lot of resources. But if they come in and they want a building permit, they have to make some kind of commitment. I'm willing to work with them, maybe put money up front and enter into a payment agreement. But and those people are usually fine, but I have business owners, I have developers that they don't pay any taxes for 3 or 4 years while they're waiting to sell their land or build a house, and the taxes build up to an astronomical amount, and we have no leverage. So the building permits are a great leverage to use to collect that money. And that's really the big benefit, the benefit of this. Certainly if somebody comes in, well, I've had people that are, they owe me $15,000 and they haven't paid any taxes in 3 or 4 years. We've tried to help them they come in, they try to get a building permit, they're not able to do anything, at that point, we do have to deny the permit. I don't think it's fair to our taxpayers that do pay their bills that, to let this go too long. So I hope that answers your question, Peg. We do.
And again, we're talking mostly business owners, developers, and the such. The normal taxpayer, if they have a hard time with their tax bill, all they have to do is call the tax office and she'll work with it.
This is mostly for people, I hate to segregate people, but developers that possibly for one reason or another have fallen behind. This is not for people that you worked with, Donna, that maybe have trouble in their own homes. This is more for overall. I don't want any, okay, thank you. You've answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, last time I come up, hopefully, Gordon Bailey, District 4. This, one of the examples, if somebody, the way our law reads, the way we've adopted this local option law was to give people 12 months to sort of catch up and whatnot. Anybody who goes over that right now, if there's a business owner in this town who hasn't paid taxes in 12 months, they shouldn't get a liquor license, they shouldn't get a building permit, they should get nothing from this town. What I'm suggesting is that to cut it off on the very next day isn't, I feel, appropriate to our taxpayers. It's not taking anything away from the taxpayers. It's giving somebody a little opportunity, if they're out of town, they're not around, to actually take a month or so to go in and speak to the collector and come up with an agreement. So that during that 2-month time frame, they might still be able to re-roof their house or renew a liquor license, whatever the issue may be, whatever the licensing may be. I think the only things you can do under this law are to get a dog license and an open burning permit. Other than that, everything else is dead. So all I'm saying is give them 2 months, and then after that, I agree 100% with the collector. They should not get anything if they are beyond that 2 month. I got no problem with this. But I think that very next day is just, it's too stark a change.
Understood. Thank you.
John Cody, District 3.
Yes, Mr. Cody.
We're not talking, if somebody's delinquent 3 years or 2 years, it's already no question they're not getting a permit.
Correct.
All we're changing here is from 12 months to allow for 2 months rather than no time at all.
We're talking about a
And
60-day grace period, I believe, yes.
Right. And I'd like to have it specific, so that's the regulation, not a willy-nilly, well, we'll work with somebody or we won't work with somebody, or, leave that arbitrarily up for question. I really don't think the 2 months is going to kill us. Like I said, if it's somebody that's delinquent for more than 12 months, they're not getting it anywhere now. So I really don't think just giving that 2-month grace period is going to
Fair
really
enough.
hurt.
Thank you. Yes, of course.
Just one more thing. So we're going to give them 2 months. They come in, they owe me $1,000. They're just 2 months behind or less. So I go ahead and I approve the permit. They need to come, first I need to deny it so that they will come in to work with me. If we don't, if they're under 2 months, I just approve it, they're not going to come in. They may, if they've forgotten it, they may pay it, but what if they don't? Now I've lost that opportunity to try to work with them, and we do work with them. So it's not a cutoff when we deny the permit. We deny the permit, and they're notified the reason why, that they owe us some money, come in and talk to the tax collector. And that's what people do. And lots of times, and so then they come in, they pay it, or we work together on it, and then I approve the permit the next week or the week after. So it's not just, it's denied the next day, and nothing can be done. Okay? So
Okay.
that's clarified.
Thank you. So we are still on the motion to amend, and we've heard from a number of people. I believe we are ready now to vote on the motion to amend. Okay? So we will open up the vote. And again, if you're in favor of the 2-month, I'm calling it a grace period. That may not be the exact language, but as long as we all understand. If you're in favor of it, you would vote yes. If you're opposed, you would vote no. And the vote is open. And now we will close the vote. Okay, so the motion to amend fails.
The amendment did not pass.
Did not pass. So now we will return to the main motion as it is written in your article, in your warrant, and we will vote on the main motion, Article 3. We will open the vote. I'm sorry, yes, if there's any, I have to return to any further discussion. And if not, seeing none, we will open the vote on Article 3. And we will close the vote now. And so Article 3 passes, 40 in favor and 3 opposed. Thank you. And that brings us now to Article 4, the Special Act Charter Review Commission.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to petition the Massachusetts State Legislature to readopt the Town of Lee Special Act as published in the special town meeting warrant.
Second.
Thank you. Yes, if there's discussion on Article 4.
Yes. Monica Ryan, Laurel Street, District 6.
Monica, could you move a little closer to the mic?
Yes.
So they can
Thank
pick
you.
it up at home.
Thanks for saying that, thanks. So Monica Ryan, District 6, Laurel Street. I just had 3 questions for clarity, that's all. So I'll refer to the page number first. Page number 5, Section 5. Kind of the middle of the paragraph, about 6, 7 lines down. I'll just say it at the beginning, we're 5 lines down. The town administrator shall be appointed without regard to their political designation, need not be a resident of the town when appointed, but shall become a resident of Berkshire County during the first year of his or her appointment, unless otherwise provided. I'd like to amend that to say the town of Lee. I feel like the town administrator should live, and we already, thank you, Chris, already lives here.
Could you explain it? What you're at Section 5.
Section 5,
What
right?
line down?
So, yeah, kind of in the middle, so.
The town administrator shall be appointed. Got it.
Right. So where it says Berkshire County, it says that they should ultimately, be a resident of Berkshire County after they get the job. But I feel like they should be a resident of the town of Lee. That's my suggestion for discussion. I don't know if we should amend it, but I just want to put that out there. And then the other 2 points, I can come back to that. But the other one I had a question about is on page 6, the first paragraph on page 6, where most of it is struck out. I guess I just needed clarification on why as I read it, it basically talks about the removal, if we needed to remove the town administrator, and it says what, the process is, and then it basically just cuts out that whole section that they cut out. If I were a town administrator, I'm like, wow, it really cuts the legs out from under them. They have no position, you know what I mean? It just feels like, why were they cutting that all out? Is there a reason why we cut that whole section out on that paragraph?
Yeah, and we've got the committee
Yeah.
here to answer.
Yes.
So
Okay.
one more?
So that was
one
my
more
second, then I just have one more thing, so and then I can sit back and listen. And now I'm just remember where it is, it's at except as otherwise, point merit and fitness. Yes, same page, on page 6,
the last paragraph, paragraph D. The addition of the words "at will" in the middle sentence of the paragraph, in the very middle of the whole paragraph. It has "at will" that's been added to it. Does that mean like that a person can basically be fired at will? I mean, like for no cause, or like, you know, it's easier to fire them when you say "at will"? What is the purpose of the words "at will" by adding that? That's my question. Clarification on that. Why did we add that? And also, 10 to 7, well, I don't really care so much about the days. I was just questioning the words "at will." What does that mean? So those are my 3 questions, and we may need to amend if we hear from other people about whether okay.
Ms. Ryan, thank you. If we can, we'll take your questions. We do have Ms. Warner, I think, may be able to address.
Janet Warner,
Yes,
District
thank you.
4. I'm not going to pretend to be able to remember every single thing from when we did this in 2019. And I'm also not going to pretend to be able to read legal wording as well as probably some. What I do want everyone to know, because there's probably more things on this special act, is when we met, our members of our committee were Dennis Mountain, Sue Kelly, John Davidson, John Graziano, and myself. And we met quite a few times and went through the whole process. Chris Ketchen, at the time, we were sharing an administrator back in that day, and he was extremely helpful in suggesting or just helping us out when we were a little confused. John Graziano, also being a lawyer, was really helpful. So that's kind of to preface anyone's questions that they're going to come up with this. So I do have some bulleted explanations that I've had from the times that we met. So moving to your top of page, where are we here?
6.
First question. Okay. So where it's all crossed out, there's so much crossed out. So the committee felt that this could be part of the town administrator's contract as opposed to a legal requirement on the top of that one. On the bottom one, our explanation is the committee recommends shortening the notice period for termination and changing the employment status of all non-contract employees to at will. At will, in my mind, means that if the town administrator sees fit that someone needs to be let go, it's their decision. Am I right or wrong, Jeremiah?
You are correct, and just so everyone knows, most municipal employees are at will. That's the default rule. So unless you're covered by civil service, which we are not in most southern Berkshire towns, employment is at will. And that is superseded by contracts, as you had indicated that an administrator might negotiate a contract, and most administrators end up negotiating a contract that would have more protections than you see here. This was drafted a long time ago, so that just gives a public hearing. It's still an at-will. This is basically at-will with 30 days pay if you're terminated. It looks like it's a lot more than it is. But municipal employees, by default, are at-will. That's the law in Massachusetts.
Monica, was there another one? Did you?
Well, she had a question about.
Oh, I don't have anything to do. We didn't recommend that because really, I mean, things have changed so much. But to imagine to tell someone, if we were to hire a town administrator, they had to find a home in Lee at this point, I think would be personally, I think it would just be really unfair, as much as I like the idea of our administrator living in town, so.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Warner. Okay. Any further question or comment? Ms. Byron? Yes, go ahead.
Moderator, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. On section 12, Janet, thank you.
A little closer, Peg.
Thank you and everybody for volunteering for this.
Section 12, Peggy?
Yes, page 8. I was just wondering, without that first sentence, what that means, without notice, or could somebody just explain to me? I'm sure it's legalese, but Okay, Jeremiah, it's section 12, just the first sentence of that, what that means, and thank
Yeah,
you.
So I think the purpose of that, and that's not a change, that was in our original act. And
Right.
So this is
Okay.
part guess, but I think that what you're looking at here is reserving the right for the town administrator to do an internal investigation
Okay.
without notifying an employee. Whether
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ms. Langlis?
Ann Langlis, District 2. My question was on E of, let's see, is 9, I'm sorry, 11E. Town administrator shall supervise and be responsible for the efficient administration of all departments, commissions, boards, and offices except for the Board of Selectmen. You shall not, however, exercise any control over the discretionary power vested by the statute in each such board, committee, commission, or officer. I was curious why it was just being removed.
So on that one, the committee recommends removal of this paragraph as being redundant with any statutes that may govern the various boards, committees, et cetera. So if you look down on M on that same page. Some of it says sort of the same thing, so it was, in
Just
our opinion, it
repetitive.
was repetitive.
Okay.
That's why it got scratched off.
Okay, which makes sense. And going back to section 9, page 6 on the top, you said, though this part could be part of a contract?
Yes.
Is it part of the contract?
Well, this hasn't been adopted yet.
Well,
I think she's asking if he has a contract.
yeah, the contract, it would be negotiated with the selectmen for whoever the town administrator is.
Right, each individual as
Right,
it
would have
comes.
their own,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you. And then I had one more. On page 7. My question is, town administrator shall administer either directly or through a person or persons appointed by him in accordance with this act, all provisions of general and special laws applicable to the town, all bylaws and votes of the town, and all regulations established by the Board of Selectmen. My question is, what happens if you're ill and you can't fulfill the position?
That's taken care of. We closed town hall, sorry. What letter are you quoting? in?
I.
I got the page.
I on 7.
Crossed out.
Okay.
So if it helps at all, Ann, my notes next to that one, it says this is a redundant statutory requirement of the position. The committee recommends deleting it. Again, and I don't have redundant next to all of these, but that it just so happens that you're asking on another one. I can't give you the place where it's redundant, but I don't know if Jeremiah sees anything else, but it says it's a redundant statutory requirement of the position.
Yeah, because it talks about having a designated
Yes.
person take his place if he can't.
Right.
And that's within the contract, or is that within the bylaws?
Somewhere in the bylaw here.
And this is what we had originally adopted way back when.
Right.
And I agree with what the committee had decided, that it's unnecessary surplusage. I mean, in fact, it actually, if you read that technically, it binds our hands, because it's only the administrator who can appoint someone if something happens to him. We're going to comply with the law, whether you do
Right.
an interim or however you do
Okay.
it.
And it's okay, I'm fine with it being
Yep.
removed. My question was, though, pertaining to why it being removed,
Yep.
I just said to myself, it's okay to have it removed, but what is the protocol for if Chris is sick?
If you look at page 5, section 7, I think that may cover it.
And 8, yes.
7 and 8?
Page 5, section 7, or 8, both of them apply. Talks about
Thank
a
you.
vacancy in
Totally
the
missed
office.
it. Got it.
Yeah, that would be the vacancy.
Right, okay. Just again, a redundant
And then
thing,
eight
but I didn't
covers them
see
if
it
you
when I
can't
was
be there.
reading it, so thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Bailey.
Hi, Gordon Bailey, District 4. Strictly a clerical question, okay, for Jeremiah. It's as you read through this, I know this is really nitpicky, but I think if we're going to put this in our charter, sometimes select board is capitalized, sometimes it's not, sometimes town administrator is capitalized, sometimes it's not. And there was also great effort by the writers of this document to be very consistent, to take away the he's and put in they, just to make sure whether it's male, female, we don't care. So I hope I don't have to make an amendment to this, but on page 7, item G, there was just one miss, where it says he, and it should say they, so that we capture male, female. I really, I spent a lot of time with this thing, writing notes, but that's the only place I thought that it maybe got missed. Do we really have to make an amendment to do those things, or can we just retype it as, because we know the intent?
Two things we can do. We can make a motion that it be consistent for town administrator capitalized and that we use they for all pronouns.
Cool.
Or the moderator can entertain that as a friendly amendment. Or if nobody objects, it's purely Scrivener, so.
How do we want to go for it? I just want to make sure we're consistent and it's filed right.
Make a motion then.
I'll make a motion to, just to be consistent in the retyping of this, to have select board and town administrator always be capitalized, and anytime it may say he, that it say they. That's it, throughout the
Perfect.
document.
Okay, so and I thank you all.
Yes.
I totally entertain that as a friendly amendment, and I think we can just do a voice vote on that
Okay.
right
All
now.
Very good. All right.
If that's
all
okay.
I have to say about it. I think other than that.
Do we need a second?
I'll second.
Second, okay, great. So, all in favor of Mr. Bailey's suggestion, if you are in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. So that passes. That's great. And so then we can return to, if there's no further discussion on any of the substantive issues in Article 4, we will open the vote and vote now on the Special Act Charter Review Commission. If you're in favor, you'll vote yes. That's a 1 on your clicker. If you're opposed, you'll vote no. That's a 2. And if you'd like to abstain, that's a 3. And the vote is open. And the voting will now close. And Article 4 passes unanimously with 1 abstention. Thank you very much. That brings us to Article 5, the Open Town Meeting Bylaw Amendments.
Mr. Moderator, I'm sorry, Madam Moderator. I move that the town vote to re-adopt Chapter 48, Articles 2 and 1 of the general bylaws as published in the special town meeting warrant, to be adopted only in the event of an affirmative referendum vote at the 2022 annual town election, to change to an open town meeting form of government.
Second.
If there's any discussion, please come forward. Yes, Ms. Kalischer, yes.
Yes, Cornelia Kalischer, District 4. I have very simple amendments. I have it written down. It's for, I move to amend 4810 by striking the word representative and inserting the word registered voter. It's just like a clerical thing, too. And on section 23, strike the word he and insert they. It's just a simple clerical thing, too.
Okay.
I can hand it in.
Yes, if you have that in writing, please bring that forward. Thank you to the, yes, we'll take it here. Thank you.
So what page was she referring to?
And then I afterwards have a couple of comments.
Okay,
Cornelia, what page were you referring to?
Page 11 and page 16.
And 16?
And those both look like a clerical error there, so I would just recommend that we
Right.
just do a voice vote on the amendment. They both make complete sense to change, so.
Okay, let me just,
I got 11 and 16, she said.
okay. So if everyone can turn to page 11, just to follow along. At the very top of page 11, in Article 5, you'll see sections 48-10. It says division of motions. Everyone there on page 11, top of page 11, what Ms. Kalischer is suggesting is to amend that section in the second line, striking out the word representatives and inserting the word registered voter.
Oh, good catch.
So if there's a second to that, we can do a voice vote on that. That's a second, thank you. Let's take a voice vote if we could on the motion to amend that language from representative to registered voter. All in favor of the motion to amend registered voters, switch representatives to registered voters, say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed? Okay, that motion to amend passes. And then on section 23, you said was page 16, I believe. The top of that page, you would like to strike the word he and insert the word they.
Just to make it consistent with the rest of the document.
Okay, so in the second line of section 23 at the top of page 16, we are looking to strike the word he and insert the word they. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? I'm sorry.
Kathy Hall, 50 Birch Street.
Yes, Ms. Hall.
And this morning I did send an email to our town administrator talking about the grammatical errors and things that I saw, and I said, well, it's only the grammar police that would notice these things, but Mr. Bailey also recognized things where things should be capitalized, not capitalized. In this case, the he is more correct than changing it to there. It should be he/she, because you can't say there.
They.
You know, it's got to be they. I'm sorry, they. You know, so it really has to be he/she.
Well, I think that covers everything, doesn't
If you're going to
it?
do
It could be they.
capitalization, it has to say Lee Town Administrator or Lee Select Board, otherwise it's got to be lowercase. And I'm saying this as a retired English teacher.
Ms. Hall, I thank you so much for that comment. I am part of the grammar police force, and yet I would suggest that we can note that. I believe that we did just vote on
Right.
that, and I appreciate your comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Ms. Kalischer, you had other comments
Thank
on Article 5. Please continue.
Yep, so thank you. I just wanted to say that I really appreciate Chris Britton as our new town administrator who helped me to understand some things. I I just didn't have the knowledge. And so I really carefully read this, and on page 17 where it speaks about public referendum and striking them, I thought it was taking out initiative petitions. Not that I've ever written one, but I think they're important, and they still are remaining in the bylaw, or in the way the town warrant is, so that was very clarifying, and I thank you for your time working with me and understanding things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Peter Hoffman, District 6. I hope this can also fall under the amendment of correcting things. Section 24,
What page, dear?
page
16.
16.
Okay.
The third to last line mentions town meeting members.
Yes.
Probably don't want that. And section 29 at the very end mentions town meeting members. Just some proofing, basically, is what we approved.
Do you want just to take members
You could just say by
off?
town meeting, because it's an open town meeting. You just take out the word members. But I thought town meeting members were representatives, and we're eliminating that, right?
Both are.
I guess my question, Peter, would be, would town meeting members include residents if we were to be an open form of government?
That's fine.
Yeah.
If that's how you interpret it, that's fine. I mean, I don't have any.
Because they're not
The legislative body are the registered voters who show up. So that's the town meeting members.
Okay, fine. Yeah, fine. Sorry.
Such careful readers. I really appreciate this. Any further discussion on Article 5 before we move to the vote? Seeing none and hearing none, we will open voting on Article 5. And we will close the vote. So Article 5 passes, 37 in favor, 2 opposed, and 1 abstention. Which brings...
Madam Moderator.
Yes, yes.
Gordon Bailey, District 4. Just a point of order and clarification on something. When we were back on Article 4, somebody just brought something up. And as a point of order, I don't know whether to, I was on the yes vote side, so we win, so I could always make a motion to reconsider, but I think it's a clarification issue, possibly from the town's attorney, to know whether or not we need to go back and fix one thing, and it may not need fixing. But if Attorney Pollard, could you look at the beginning of Article 4, if I could have a moment, and through the chair, or through the moderator, Section 1, the voters of the town of Lee shall, in accordance, elect the following people. I'm thinking that the second paragraph should be struck, but I'm not so sure we meant to strike the entire Section 1, other than A, town meeting members. Because if we adopt the open town meeting, then we won't have town meeting members. But this looks like it spells out that we are supposed to elect all these other people. Where is this covered if we don't have it there?
Mass general laws.
Okay, as long as it's covered somewhere, because it looks like we're getting rid of the guidance, and I think that's not going to be cool.
We're not.
Okay,
We're not sinking the Titanic.
Well, I didn't think about it at first, but I'm looking at it going, oh my God, are we going to be able
Good
to vote
question.
everybody in? Okay.
I'm just going through all of them,
Yeah.
looking at them. Those are all.
So
they're
on
all
your advice,
covered.
we don't have to reconsider. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you. So we are now on Article 6, which is the previous fiscal year invoice.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate from available funds the sum of $9,135.81 for the purpose of paying a public works invoice from fiscal year 2021.
Second. Second. Okay.
Okay. If there's any discussion, we'll hear it now. Otherwise, we can proceed to the vote, and this is a four-fifths vote. The Finance Committee recommends approval. As you can see, we will open voting. We will open voting now. And we will close voting. Article 6 passes unanimously. Thank you. Article 7.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $28,592.97 from available funds to pay the town's share of expenses for Rest of the River legal defense for the years encompassing fiscal year 20, fiscal year 21, and fiscal year 22 to date.
Second. This was an article I asked to be put in. As you probably all know, I'm leaving in May, and I have neighbors, including Lenox, Stockbridge, Great Barrington, Sheffield, who are paying my bills, or paying our bills, for the last 3 years. And I just thought I'd ask the town meeting members if they'd be willing to clear up these 3 years of expenses. Either pay it now, get it out of the way, or you'll pay it later. But in the meantime, it's like borrowing from my neighbor, and I can't pay him back, and I don't think that's proper etiquette for either myself or the town. So I'm just asking to pay up these bills that we've already used the services. They've already been paid for by the other towns on our behalf, but we owe it.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Cornelia, is it okay? Monica Ryan, District 6. I would not give one more penny to these lawyers who made such a horrible deal for us as to, come up with this deal where we're going to have this toxic dump. So I am totally against this amendment or this warrant article. I feel that the money should be spent as we had voted last year when we made the amendment on legal entities that will help defend us against a toxic dump and not in support of a toxic dump. So this money, though I feel badly for those towns, but we're the town out of all those other towns that got screwed, excuse my French. So I don't think we should have to pay it. I don't want to pay any more money towards this law firm. They didn't represent us. They tried to represent too many towns at once, and we were the lowest and got the worst deal out of it.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. I would just remind everyone that the article that we are considering right now is exactly as it's written, to vote to appropriate a sum of money, not to relitigate the larger issues. Yes, please.
Yeah, they've already been paid or they will be paid. This is simply reimbursing the other towns that have been picking up these obligations by contract. So it's not going to make no difference to the attorneys. This is simply doing the right thing by our neighboring towns. That's all.
Yes, Mr. Cook.
John Cody, District 3. I know this body made a commitment to enter into this agreement to, have this representation. So that's something that we committed to. I pay my bills. I don't leave them to somebody else to pay, and I don't think the town should neglect its commitment and not pay. I assume if we don't pay that somebody's going to sue us anyway to get this money back. And, like I said, I think we committed to this representation, committed to this 5-town board, and I don't think we should just not pay the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Cody. Ms. Langlis.
Ann Langlis, District 2. I do not believe that the neighboring towns took any care about us when this decision was made. As we all know, the voters didn't get a choice. We have already voted in the last 2 years to not give any more money to this particular law firm, whether we are allowing those neighbors who threw us under the bus to pay this bill. I think that it's wrong. I think we should not be spending any more money on this. And I would also like to ask Patty if you know to date if how much money has been given to this particular law firm at all.
It's not just a law firm, and there was the environmental people, also firms. I can't tell you what the law firms got and what the environmental, and also Berkshire Regional Planning gets money.
I'm well
because
aware.
we
I
have
was just
to
asking if you
pay
knew
them.
about the law firm part.
I don't. I would guess. No, I'm not even going to guess.
Right.
I don't want to put it out there and have it wrong.
It's a
But
huge
I can-
amount.
I can get that information.
It's a huge amount. I would love to know that amount.
I think totally for everything so far, since 2013, it's been about 500,000.
I believe it's higher.
Sorry.
I believe it's much higher than that.
Okay.
But at any rate, we've already voted the past couple of years not to give them any more money. I'd like us to follow through with the commitment we had already made, not to give them any more money. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I have a couple questions. I was wondering what the other two selectmen feel. Number one. Number two, is this the defense fund or is this a different?
Cornelia, I can't understand you. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's my hearing. Could you
Oh.
just speak a little more?
Okay. My question is this, I'd like to hear from the two other selectmen. You spoke what you feel. I'd like to hear what they feel. And second, I would like to, is this the defense fund that we voted
No.
for, or is this a different fund?
No, this is from 3 years ago when you stopped giving us any money.
But for the defense fund?
For the defense fund, the initial one, not the one you voted on last year. The $50,000, and you put it in a defense.
Right,
Not that one.
right, but the same fund?
No, that was a
Different
different
years,
fund.
different years.
That was a different article, a different fund, and before that, you voted every year on $10,000.
Right,
But that hasn't been done the last 3 years.
right, I understand.
So that's what this is coming from.
Because,
That's
but we
where-
did vote no already on it, so now we're asking to say yes now? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because it doesn't matter, you're going to have to pay it at some point in time. It's a contract, we'll have to we'll have to
That's
pay.
very, so for myself, that's very complicated because we voted no, and I agree in contracts. So
Okay.
that's a very complicated question for me to respond to.
Okay.
But I would like to hear from the other two selectmen. Thank you.
Yes, Selectman Renier.
Thanks. Yeah, if I could respond, sorry, Nick. This seems very complicated, and I guess I'm wondering if we are contractually obligated, should we just pay it now? That's sort of just what's going on in my head. I don't have an opinion formed before I came here. I was wondering to hear from everybody. But I understand everybody's concern. I mean, this has been the hardest issue that we've all had to face, and it's not fair to Lee to have to pay this. I don't think so, but in the end, we might just have to pay it. My decision that I'm making tonight, should we just pay it now or face it later, I guess, is that's what it seems to me that I'm hearing from Select Board Member Carlino, I suppose.
Can I be recognized?
Yes, Selectman Jones, please.
Yeah, I'll be voting no on this. In 2020, that $50,000 was supposed to be used for legal funds for Rest of River, and instead that money sits in an account because the then Select Board and now Select Board decided that they did not want to use it for figuring a way to get out of this jam. So that money is just sitting there. We didn't pay anything last year, and I don't think we should pay anything this year. The whole rest of the river really turned around and bit us in the back, and I don't want to support it in any way. And if we ended up paying down the road, this is still a fluid situation. This dump is not a done deal. It's been said that nobody in the town wants the dump. There are two groups of people. There are one group that's willing to stand up and fight it. There's another group that says, well, it's inevitable. We're just going to have to do it. It's still a fluid situation. It's being appealed in Superior Court. It's going to federal court. It's not done, and I'm going to be voting no against this article.
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Gail Cerisi, just town
We have two
citizen.
reps waiting.
And I have a question to ask about this.
Thank you.
When was the contract signed to give this amount of money to this defense?
I'm sorry, Gail, what was your question?
When was the contract signed to give this amount of money to the defense?
Yeah, I believe it was 2013. I may be wrong, and then it might be 16.
Okay. So my question to you is, if our townspeople
16, I'm sorry.
16 voted to not give money in 2020 and 21 and, why have you not backed out of that contract because you didn't have the finance? Why are you still using the legal fee?
Because then we would have no seat at the table.
And, okay, all right. I, for one, as a citizen, wish you didn't continue to have a seat at that table. And I can tell you, as a citizen, I really wanted that $50,000 to go to rescind. I'm taking money out of my pocket to pay for our legal defense because we don't have the money that the townspeople voted to supply, to pay for the defense to get us out of this deal. And there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people who have donated money, and that's an additional tax to those people who have. And if we can't get money for our legal desires, then I feel that we should not give one more penny to this organization that you've signed an agreement. You should have backed out, said, my townspeople do not want me to sit at this table. We do not want to be in this. That's what we asked you to do. I do not feel represented by this group. They gave us a bad deal, and that's the bottom line. Having a dump is dangerous to the health of our community, and there's a certain select few, and this is the representative system that I have been opposed to for a long time now, that are want to make a decision to appropriate money or not to this organization or this group that you've joined. And I, for one, am not in favor of secret meetings that have a signed contract. Things should have came back to the people, and that has been the whole problem. If the different select boards went back to their constituents, I imagine most towns would have said, no, we don't want that, because I know a lot of people in other towns feel really bad about this. And so that's why I do not support you appropriating this money. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. Yes, Mr. Cody, I'm sorry.
John Cody, District 3. I guess it's a little bit confusing. Are we legally obligated to make this payment? Did we sign a contract, and are we legally obligated to pay this? I mean, if we are, there's not much of a question. We either pay it or we're going to pay it later, and maybe even pay more if we have to go to court over it. So I guess it's maybe a question for our legal counsel. Are we legally obligated?
Well, the way contracts typically work, they're contingent upon town meeting approval. But if it's a multi-year contract, if the town meeting approves the first year of the contract, then it approves other years. It's not clear to me one way or the other with this contract, if that's the case. So, for example, if the school board or the school committee negotiates a collective bargaining agreement, if it's for 5 years and you approve the first year, you're in it for 5 years, okay? So that's the default. But am I going to tell you that applies here? I mean, this is totally unique. So, I mean, this is a separate committee comprised of member towns. You know, I can tell you there's arguments both ways. You know, whether there's a contract or not might not dictate whether, you know, there's ever an action against the town, because there's also, there's no contract and a contract fails, you can still bring a quantum merit claim. That's Latin for services rendered. So I'm not going to, it's murky. That's really where it is. It's one of those things that could go either way.
So if we don't approve this, we're going to find out more, basically.
Don't know. I'm not saying that. That's a prediction.
Thank you, yes.
Josh Cohen, District 1. Nobody wants to dump. It doesn't matter if there's a green box up there, a red box up there. I don't want to dump. I live in District 1. They don't want to dump. Now we're all just fighting with each other over nitpicking over paying bills. You guys now want to spend $75,000 more on something that can be done for $50,000. So now you got $100,000 on the table right now that no one seems to care about because it's about the dump. No one wants to dump. This isn't a John Grisham book here. No one's coming to save us. The town doesn't have the money to fight it. If we can find it, that's great, but no one's offered any solutions up here. And now we're going on community television, and we're just saying, we're mad, we're not paying our bills, and screw the rest of the county. Now, I'm talking, thank you. If we go to these other towns, what if we need something from these towns another day that has nothing to do with the dump? Where they're gonna say, oh, well, you guys weren't giving us the time of day when you guys owed us for something we already supposedly bought. We're not asking for money for the future. We're asking for something we paid for. Pay our bills. Fight it after you pay it. I don't like paying some of my bills. I call the credit card company after I pay it. Then I dispute it, because we're in the same situation. So let's just pay our bills, not shun our neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Selectman Jones?
I'll make this short and sweet. I pay my bills, I keep my promises. And if I signed a contract and I thought that I was going to get certain things out of it, I would pay for that contract. But if I signed a contract and found out that what I was told is not what actually I signed, I wouldn't pay that bill. I absolutely wouldn't. And so that's why I'm voting no on this.
Yes, Ms. Langlis?
Ann Langlis, District 2. So, Jeremiah, just a few minutes ago, as town council, you said that you would not say either way, which really makes a lot of sense if you look at every year. We have come here since 2013. We were asked to give them $10,000 for a specific job. Even after we signed the contract, we still had to be asked to allocate that money. And again, we're being asked to allocate the same money. And again, I think we need to say no.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, again, Josh Cohen, District 1. I'm all for if somebody doesn't want to pay a bill. But if it affects somebody else that you got to see every day, have fun walking down the street.
Ms. Byron?
Thank you. I haven't spoken out too much one way or the other about the dump. No one wants the dump. However, this body, the town reps, did vote $50,000, and it is still encumbered, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct on that?
That failed.
Pardon me?
Oh, I'm sorry. It was the vote for $50,000 to rest of river failed, and it was changed.
No, I mean, last year we wanted to vote some money, and I might be wrong.
You voted $50,000 for a new defense fund, a different
Yes,
type.
yes. And that money is
I don't
still
know if
on the
it's done.
books, or where?
That's closed at this point. 'cause
I don't know
wasn't
if
that-
it's
It would be
closed.
back into the general
Free
fund.
cash.
yeah.
It's gone back into the general fund, okay. So, I guess I would just, at this point, I would say no. I don't want to pay the money. It's just how I feel. The dump is coming to Lee, the trucks are going to be going through the town of Lee, and I feel badly for the people in District 1, a working-class neighborhood that is going to have to suffer from all of this in many ways. Anyways, we shouldn't be getting off on how we feel about the dump or whatever. I think we should probably just vote yes or no. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kalischer.
The reason I asked about the, whether this was the defense fund, originally, every year I asked the very same question, and whether the monies, the $10,000, and I think it went up actually, well, $10,000, how it was going to be used, and it was told that it was to fight with the 5 towns to protect our town to not have PCD dump in any of the 5 towns. That was why I voted yes those other years. Then the town residents and reps voted no to make a statement, because that committee, the Rest of River Committee, was no longer representing us in that, well, it was complicated behind closed doors. I don't know how it was being said, but the result being that the 5 towns did not stay together on that commitment with the legal defense, how it seems anyway. So since we voted no several times, I only have to vote no again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just
Yes.
a quick clarification. I just want to make sure everyone is aware, because this encompasses FY '20 and '21, it does go to a 9/10 vote. So,
Yes.
so when you see this come up, it's a 9/10, not a simple majority. So.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Alex Hettinger, District 3. I have a question with this contract and how we're bound to this group. If we pay I understand, it's complicated, but the $28,000 has already been spent and paid for by the other towns. So whether or not we reimburse our neighbors and, just call that done, that's one question. Are we still going to be coming up with owing them $10,000 more every year at this point? Are we still bound in that agreement?
We are still bound in that.
So next year, if we said no on this, next year this would read, I don't know, $38,000. Is that correct?
Depending on how much we spend, the group,
How much the group spends?
depending on how much the bills are. But 10,000 has been sufficient up until this time. So that's why we stuck with the 10,000.
So is there an end to this, like the school contract, it's a 5-year contract? Is this just perpetually so that we're still going to be feeding into this fund?
No, it's not perpetual, but it's until the final decision has been made, which hasn't been made yet, because I believe the group is going to First District Court, at which time we probably will have some legal expenses for that too. And then depending on which way it goes, my understanding is it'll be done one way or the other. And at that time, the legal defense would stop.
And that could go on for years?
No,
As legal things
I
do?
don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think they have to send their appeal in within, I think it's May something, they have to have their appeal in. And then it's just how long it takes the court to decide, which could be a year or so. During which time we wouldn't have anything going on, any legal expenses per se.
It just doesn't seem like we're getting a lot for our money.
Like we're what?
we're not getting a lot for our money, for the town of Lee's contribution to the fund.
Well, everyone's paying the same contribution. Every town is paying the same
Exactly.
contribution.
That's exactly my point. And
I know what your point is, and that's the way it seems, but...
Ms. Hedinger, thank you very much. I just want to remind everyone, the general rules here, you speak twice on a motion, so I am tracking how many times everyone's coming up, and if we can continue and move along. Ms. Langlis?
This will be the last time I come up.
Okay, fair enough.
Patty, you just made a statement that the results of the court will be one way or the other.
That's my understanding.
Right, but yet just a few minutes before you said we're under contract and we're obligated.
I don't get what you're saying.
So as you're sitting there, you say you're contradicting yourself.
Okay.
And it just seems odd to me that you want to pay them the money, though you're not sure it could go one way or the other at court.
Well, we owe the money already. This is past money that's been spent, Ann. Not new money. It's past money that the other towns have paid on our behalf.
Right, I understand that.
Right.
But how you're speaking about it is, in one term you say, this is a set contract, we can't get out. But now you're telling people, well, it could go one way or the other. That's all.
You got two different things mixed up.
Okay, Ms. Cerise, yes, this is your...
I just have a question.
Could you speak up, please? I'm sorry.
Gail Cerisia, I just have one more question.
Yes.
I thought you said, Madam Carlino, that in order for you to sit at the table, that's why you had to pay the fee. We need to pay the fee. If you left that table, then we wouldn't have to pay any fee.
Well, that would mean if we decided not to, if we decided to get out of the contract with the other towns for this defense fund.
Well, we would like to get out of that, I think.
Well,
But
but
anyway,
we're not.
so maybe that needs to be another, warrant or article or something, I don't know. Then also, I remember that it was also said last year that Sheffield had decided they weren't going to pay the $10,000, because why would they? I mean, hey,
No.
they got a good deal.
They did one year, they couldn't. They didn't have any money, so they did in-kind services, which you know what in-kind services are.
I would question, what is an in-kind
Okay.
service on this particular circumstance?
Their representative was very helpful in taking the notes, doing all the paperwork, and she did that, and then the next year they came back in with their money.
So she got $10,000
She
to take...
didn't get anything, she just did in-kind services.
But she was relieved of $10,000.
The town was.
For doing doing recording.
Okay, we have, yes,
Janet Warner.
Yes, Ms. Warner,
District
you have
4.
not spoken on this yet.
Is it, move the question, is that the...
Yes.
Move to call the question.
Yes. Okay, so we are going to call the question.
Second.
Okay.
That's a two-thirds vote.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Should we do our clickers?
There's no debate.
Right, correct.
I haven't spoken.
Okay. Okay, so we're not going to click our way through the calling of the question. We're going to voice vote that. Okay? So all in favor of moving the question, please say aye.
Aye.
That sounds pretty unanimous to me. Okay. So
All
now,
right, call them.
pardon me?
You got to do the nays, too.
Oh, yes. Anyone opposed? Okay. Silence
Good
is
call.
golden. So that passes. So now we will proceed to the vote on Article 7.
She's good.
This is where we will go back to our clickers, and you know what to do. And now we will close the vote. And if my math is correct, I believe it fails, right? I was just doing some quick math. Thank you. Thank you. So Article 7 fails. Article 8.
Okay. Madam
Yes.
Moderator, another point of order question,
Yes.
only, not about that, actually. Something that was said at this table about the $50,000 that we voted to put against, to give to somebody to fight. I thought that was a special article, and it was not, and therefore, that money is available us to spend. I don't see how it could get turned back over. It didn't say turn it over after a year. We should still have $50,000 to be able to, so how did that go at?
That automatically, those special articles automatically get turned back to free cash, Gordon, unless they are asked to be held for some odd reason.
So if we
But
want
I-
to do that at this year's town meeting and regenerate that 50,000, we would have to specify that it remain an option for us, because I was always the
No.
understanding that a special article, the money was always available until expended, or we voted to get rid of it. So I thought that
No.
50,000 was still there.
I don't.
That was my
I believe
understanding.
It's been turned back.
Unless it's specifically rolled over into another year, it goes back into the general fund.
So every year, we'd have to vote on that? So every special article that we do?
If we don't use it. If we don't use it. If it's used, then it's.
No, but, so, okay, well, that's a great clarification, because I've been here a lot of years. And I always heard, oh, special articles, they just keep going until you spend it. So I'm glad to hear that, because that may affect some of the ways we want to go forward at this year's town meeting. That's all. It's because that's not the way I have understood it for all these years. But thank you for the, if that's correct, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Article 8 is the cemetery.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $14,669 from the Fairmont Perpetual Care Account, $433 from the Fairmont Gravestone Repair Account, for a total appropriation of $15,302 for repair of fallen cemetery stones.
I'll second it.
If there's any discussion on this article, please come forward. And seeing none and hearing none, we will proceed to the vote. On Article 8, the vote is now open. And the vote will now close. And that article passes, 42 in favor, 1 opposed, no abstentions. Thank you. Article 9 is zoning readoption.
You think you could take a break for 10 minutes to give us?
Yes, I was, yes, that is perfectly fine. I was going to point out it is about 9:15 and we are just approaching the halfway mark in terms of the number of articles. So if we want to take 5-10 minutes and be right back here at 9:25. Thank you.
Article 9.
We left off at Article 9, and from here on out, we will start with the Planning Board.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to readapt Chapter 199 zoning as published in the special town meeting warrant town website clerk's office.
Good evening, everyone. Buck Donovan, current chair of the Planning Board. This next group of questions have been worked on a long time. This first one was done by a consultant. Matt Carlino was chair at the time we worked on this, so any questions I'll hand over to him. As for the rest of them, I'm not going to go into detail. You have the handouts. Members of the Planning Board are here. If you have any questions, we're here. Let's go.
Thank you.
Matt Carlino, Planning Board. The general code that we hired out with a consultant, that was basically for them to do a legal and editorial analysis, to go through our bylaw, to find out any inconsistencies, contradictions, a lot of little changes. It's a lot of changes, but it's a lot of little changes that we would probably classify as more of a housekeeping. But, so that was the general intent of that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion, any questions, comments, clarifications on Article 9? Seeing none, hearing none, we will, I'm sorry? Yes, yes. Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. So we will now proceed to the vote on Article 9, which is up. Yes, and this is a 2/3 vote. All in favor, you will vote yes. All opposed, you will vote no. And if you would like to abstain, you will not click. Or I guess you will click 3. So the vote is open. And the vote will now close. And that passes unanimously, making the math very simple. Thank you. Moving on to Article 10.
I think this one's Bob, right?
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw section 4.1 relating to the establishment of use regulations as published in the special town meeting warrant.
Thank you. Yes.
Madam Moderator, just if I could take a second, I just want to let everybody know these next set of bylaws were really started by our planning board member, Peter Blum. And I don't know if any of you know, but it's quite a bit of work, quite a bit of time, sacrifice, and really without Peter, we wouldn't be at this point. Peter really did all the foundational work and gave us a base to work off of. And, you know, we had the easy job of critiquing his work, which was fun at times. Luckily, he was very gracious about it, but I just want everyone to know that we are very fortunate that Peter and Valerie chose to come to our town. They both put a lot into this town, and I just want everyone to know that Peter really is a big asset to the planning board and the town of Lee as a whole. So thank you, Peter. If anybody has any complaints about these next set of bylaws, I have Peter's direct line, and I'd be happy to provide that to you on the way out. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Blum.
I don't want to take any more time than is necessary. I prepared a summary of the next series of articles. Unfortunately, I misnumbered them. I think probably people figured that out quickly. Article 11 was misnumbered, or didn't have a number, so Article 12 is listed in my summary as Article 11, et cetera. But otherwise, the summary, I think, explains why we're here. And on Article 10, it's a simple matter of conforming our general regulations to apply to both structures and uses, and we modeled it on the Lennox bylaw.
Thank you. Yes, okay. Okay. We will now proceed to the vote on Article 10. The voting is open, and the voting will close. And that too passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to Article 11.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw in various places to eliminate obsolete references to the business multiple dwelling, BM zone, as published in the special town meeting warrant.
Second.
Yes, Mr. Bloom.
Madam Moderator, this is an obsolete set of provisions. There is no business multiple dwelling zone actually in existence in Lee, even though the bylaw in several places refers to it. So it simplifies the bylaw to eliminate those references.
Thank you. If there's any question, comment, yes. Yes, Ms. Reese.
Gail Cerisia, I have a question for you, Peter. Did we used to have a BM zone? Yes. That was like the center of town that has now been changed? Or is
Gail,
that,
could you
is that
speak
it?
into the mic, please?
Is that what it is?
The question is, do we still have, or did we have a?
Our BM is now the CBC, I believe.
Commercial business corridor, I
Is
believe?
that- I believe we changed it to CBC.
So
Thank
is
you.
that just a different name, or are there different criteria?
It's just CBC is commercial business corridor. BM was business mix, but we don't even have it on our zoning map. If you look on our zoning map, there's no BM.
Okay, thank you.
So,
That was my question.
Thank you. Okay. So Article 11, we can proceed now to the vote, and the vote is open. And we will now close the vote. Article 11 passes unanimously. Thank you. Article 12.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw, section 4.2 and subchapter 14, as published in the special town meeting warrant, relating to parking lots and multi-story parking structures.
Second.
Yes, Mr. Bloom.
Madam Moderator, our legal counsel pointed out to us a couple of years ago that we do not allow for parking lots in our existing zoning. And while we do have some parking lots, there's a possibility that they could be found to be in violation of the bylaw, which we do not want to happen. And so we took the suggestion from Jeremiah and drafted up some changes. He didn't review the details of it, but we did create parking lots in all of the districts, virtually all of the districts anyway. And we also faced the question of whether there might be parking garages in some places in the denser parts of town. We took a cautious approach, we thought, to that second question, and provided that parking garages would be allowed only after a review by the planning board.
Thank you.
no, you're right. Go ahead.
Mr. Carlino, yes.
Matt Carlino, Planning Board. I just wanted to clarify, I didn't think I hear, it's special permit. I don't know, did Peter say?
I never said those words.
So it's only, the multi-story garages would only be allowed through a special permit process with the Planning Board.
Thank you. Ms. Kalischer, yes, go ahead.
Yes, I want to thank the planning board for all your work and the consultation, et cetera. I do want to say, that, just my own opinion, I appreciate that there's a special permit and that that the multi-story garages would be only in 4 more densely occupied areas. However, it really disheartens me in some way too, to think of Lee having multi-story garages in that many places for different locations, that we could have multi-story garages. It would feel more and more like a city versus a town. And I want to say that with one of the proposals for the Price Chopper lot, there was going to be a garage there with multiple stories. And instead of 3-story, it was going to being proposed originally, I think, for 4. This allows for 3, I think, only with even under special permit, is that? But I just have worries about this, even though it's carefully thought out. So I just want to put that part out that I'm worried about still. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Donovan?
Buck Donovan, District 1 on the planning board. The multi-level can be a lot of things. Anybody been to Amherst? They have a multi-level in the center of their town. It's actually underground. You never see it. This bylaw would just allow for flexibility. Special permit would give us the restrictions, the guidance that we need with having options.
Thank
Actually,
you.
Buck, can you just for everyone's information, tell us what the special permit process, what is involved?
Special permit, first off, you have to have it with a parking garage. It would be a very extensive site plan. Once the site plan is approved, the planning board would be the special permit granting authority in this, and we would put conditions on it. We could reject it. There'd be public hearings on it, as long as they want to go. Anything else, Matt?
No, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Abutters would be notified.
Abutters, oh yeah, 300 feet, abutters are notified, all that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, and it's a super majority, not just a simple.
Yeah.
So it's more stringent.
And you can read about the special permit process in your packet tonight.
Thank you. All right, so we will open the vote. Yes, we are ready to vote on this is Article 12. The voting is open. And it will now close. The voting is closing, okay. Yes, thank you. All right, so that passes, 39 in favor and 1 opposed. And now we move on to Article 13, and I understand we have a minor semantic correction we want to point out to you in paragraph C and D. Mr. Blum.
Should we wait for a motion first, Madam Moderator?
Yes, if you want, yes, that's fine.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to add a new section 4.5 to the zoning bylaw relating to animals, and also make coordinating amendments to portions of section 4.2 as published in the special town meeting warrant.
Second.
Thank you, and thank you. Go right ahead.
Madam Moderator, we have in our existing bylaw some provisions relating to animals, but they are somewhat scattered, and we actually came to this question over the issue of chickens, which some people have, and which the planning board sort of smiled upon and said, well, you know, a few chickens don't seem to do any harm. But we got into fairly prolonged discussions about chickens, and especially roosters. It turns out that roosters have advocates very strongly for and some very strongly against. And so we spent a lot of time talking about whether or not a rooster was allowed. And it, you know, it was heartfelt. So anyway, what we tried to do here was to produce something that could be applied in most of the districts throughout town, that wouldn't be too restrictive, but that would loosen things up a little bit, allow chickens. And also, there was a provision in at least one of the zones which said that if you had larger animals, you have to keep them at least 300 feet from your boundary. And we thought that that was excessive. So we revised things to produce a general section on animals that is a little bit more liberal than at least the large animal provision. The mistake that we made, Madam Moderator, in presenting this is in some words that were supposed to go into D, 4.5D, actually got put into C. And so I would, if I'm allowed to make an amendment,
please.
I would move to amend C.
You want to do it, Buck? Yeah.
Like to amend C, the last line, should, instead of site plan, should be special permit. And on D, instead of special permit, should be site plan. Review.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. So we will treat this also in a voice vote, the amendment, the motion to amend with the, as Mr. Donovan just explained to us. Everyone follow? Okay. So all in favor of making the change in paragraph, section C of Article 13, last line, taking out site plan review, inserting special permit, and then in paragraph D, same article, last line, removing special permit and inserting site plan review. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And all opposed? Okay, so back to the main motion. Any questions? Yes, please, come forward. Crazy chicken lady. Very nice, very nice.
I'm Caroline Young, District 3, and I'm sure Peter and Buck are not happy to see me because I'm on the Agricultural Commission, and these guys were terrific. They came to one of our meetings. We talked about a whole lot of stuff for a couple of hours. It was really wonderful. And we did decide that having the site plan was better than a special permit because special permits cost hundreds of dollars. And the Agricultural Commission has agreed that we would kind of supervise some of these site plans because we know how animals need to be treated. My problem is no roosters. We are all adults here. I don't have to explain the birds and the bees to you. When you keep chickens, you get roosters. It just happens. I mean, you all know this. And roosters can be iffy, but so can a dog, so can a cat, and so can kids. And I think that part of what the site plan we hope would do as part of the Agricultural Commission would be to tell families that want to have chickens that a rooster can or cannot be a problem. And you can try to avoid them, but it isn't going to happen consistently. As I say, the birds and the bees, they appear. So we really think that saying no roosters is a problem because when they do appear, and they will, what happens to them? Do you go out in the back and wring their little necks in front of your children? You know, do you throw them out into the streets so that the dog catcher has to get them? Or more likely, do you throw them over the fence of people who have farms? And that I have seen many times. So I think that we should allow for roosters with the site plan. There are ways to keep roosters from crowing. If you have a nasty rooster, and you do, then we'd have to have a different kind of discussion. But just to write it off right from the beginning is is going to be a problem, is what I see. And it will be a problem for the Agricultural Commission, and I don't know how we're going to deal with it. I just don't.
Is that an amendment?
Yes, Ms. Young, I'm not clear if you're just making a comment or proposing an amendment.
Oh, I think that we should say that we should allow the 10 chickens and eliminate no roosters.
So
Because it's not going to happen.
Your motion is to strike the words, but no roosters.
Right.
Okay.
In section B. Okay, so if we can proceed to, yes, Ms. Hall, if you have a comment on the motion to amend?
Is there a second?
Yes, we need a, Okay, so the motion to amend has been seconded, and please come forward if you want to speak on. This is on the motion to amend.
Yes, reps first, or?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes, reps first, of course. But you can get in line at the microphone, and I'll call on you next. Thank you, Mr. Cody.
Well, I don't know if anybody's had to deal with roosters close to their home, but they are gone, they could be quite a nuisance, so I think it's gonna blow this whole thing up if you include roosters back into this thing, because if that's the case, then I think you gotta tighten stuff back up, because roosters can definitely become a major nuisance. Only somebody that has to listen to one and deal with it, try to sleep, would appreciate that.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Carlino.
Matt Carlino, Planning Board. The intent with the no roosters was to protect Mr. Cody, someone like Mr. Cody's in a residential neighborhood. The noise might be a nuisance, and so we feel that people should have their right to enjoy their property quietly, and that's the intent. I'm not saying we solved it, but I think we helped that out, and so that's the intent.
Thank you.
If you have a farm, you can have a rooster.
Thank you, thank you. Ms. Hall?
Kathy Hall, 50 Birch Street. I'm certainly opposed to not having roosters. I remember as a young child that a young boy who lived on a street close by where I lived on West Center Street was attacked by a rooster, contracted lockjaw, and died. So I'm very concerned about what we do with roosters because they can attack. And I wouldn't want to be walking downtown or somewhere where a rooster can come out at me because I wouldn't know what to do. And it's very frightening. So that's why I would object to having roosters, unless there's really stringent laws, where they're, in a cage or something. I have no idea, but that is my main objective to that. Objection. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Mr. Blum, yes.
Just a clarification. I invite your attention also to Section 4.5E, which is another authorization for animals, and it's for commercial agriculture. And if a person has a farm and derives a sufficient amount of income from that farm, then the restriction against roosters would not apply because that's under subsection B. So it would be a mistake to consider Lee an anti-rooster town.
Thank you. Ms. Young?
Sorry, my second
That's okay.
thing, because I'm a crazy rooster or chicken lady. And we are not an anti-rooster town. I would be grandfathered because I've had roosters for years. And, my neighbors aren't complaining. They're complaining about my dog barking, but not about my roosters crowing. And Dave Carrington will tell you the only complaint he ever had about the roosters crowing was that they weren't because the foxes got them. So this crowing is a funny thing. I must say, though, that Ms. Hall is inaccurate. A chicken cannot carry tetanus. It could get it on its feet, but then you can walk around and get into anything and get tetanus. That's why we have shots for them. And as a member of the Agricultural Commission, this is what we would be talking about to people who have chickens. They have to confine them. They can't be running all over the place. You can't walk down a street and have chickens running out and attacking you. They'd get run over by cars. That's just nonsense. So once again, I really think that asking homeowners who want to have some eggs and maybe let their kids raise a couple of chicks are going to have a real problem if a rooster appears.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Matt Tyre, District 1. I just have a question. If you previously have chickens over the limits, is that grandfathered?
Excellent question.
Tom?
Also, as it's written right now, I don't want anybody to yell at me, but my wife is a bigger threat than you guys. I have chickens. I have to stick up for all the chicken people out here. I don't have any roosters, and as Janet knows, there's bigger problems that I've complained about to her than the chickens. So I'm just going to say, if you can't answer that question, it's fine. But I'm going to vote no because, well, my life depends on it.
So yeah, it's an interesting question, but the opinion I rendered years ago was not the prevailing view in Berkshire County, but my opinion was, given the history of Lee and the way this town developed, that having poultry was an attendant use to owning a home, but our bylaw has always said that you can't engage in husbandry, okay? So that would tend to suggest that you can't have roosters, because that's what, if you're raising chicks, if you do that, potentially. But I ultimately rendered an opinion way back, Gordon probably remembers, that when it was in front of the ZBA, that it was an attendant use. So as it stands, yeah, but it's not defined, so we don't have, you have X amount. And so if something is pre-existing, it's a use. It's not, it doesn't mean that you can forever have as many chickens as you want. I think that the planning board's placing a number on it and defining what attendant uses are allowed by right is well taken. And, so same thing with beekeeping. The beekeeping thing has come up too. So I'm glad that the planning board is defining this so people aren't stuck in limbo with it.
Thank you, Mr. Pollard. Ms. Cerisi?
Yes, Gal Cerisi again. I think that we should be able to have roosters. I mean, I have neighbors that run machines for 3-4 hours, and I have to listen to that all day. And so, I mean, what's the difference? I'd rather hear a beautiful rooster call in the morning. It's kind of nice, and I don't think, they don't crow all the time, so I think that you should be able to have a rooster if you want fertilized eggs.
Fair
Some
enough.
people think they're healthier.
Thank you.
Sorry, Matt Tyre again,
worries.
District 1. Just a quick question regarding Jeremiah's
Yes.
comment. If you already you live in a zoning area that allows for it as of right now, and you have, let's say you have over the existing amount, you can, is from what I read, come in and ask for a site plan review to see if what you're doing is okay? Is that going to be accepted? Okay.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, you guys, for E, I wasn't following. Did you say, yeah, you're not requiring a special permit if people do that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be site plan.
Right, yeah. So if you're talking RA, you're rural agriculture, you can do it by right.
So the limit isn't 10 for RA?
Not, I think they're going to put a site plan approval on it, but no.
Site plan approval.
And-
There'll be conditions there.
And what's the process for that?
There's an application, and you're.
Buck, why don't you go to the mic so everybody can
Yeah, thank you.
Seabeth. Yeah, Seabeth.
The question was, again, that what is the process?
The process of a site plan is, it might change after tonight, but it'll still, pretty much, it'll still stay the same. For something like this, you would be a simple application. The planning board would disperse your application among other boards, and anybody they felt needed to know the information would review it and offer a decision on it. I don't think there's a minimal charge, and there's no charge, Gordon? No. Not for a site plan. There might be some parts of it, there might be some conditions or recommendations.
And the follow-up, the reason why I asked that is because there are places in town, you wouldn't know that people have chickens. And then there's others who let them cross the street and roam the neighborhoods, and those are the ones that I try to be responsible. So that was my question, if it was an exception for the site plan review.
I
Great,
just wanted
thank
to
you.
add, Matt Carlino, Planning Board, just wanted to add in tonight's package, the site plan revision, the minor site plan process is actually what the process you'll most likely follow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, perfect example of a minor, right there.
Great, thank you. So, yes,
I just want to say, I've been here 24 years, and only in the last 10 have I gotten complaints about people with roosters. And for the most part, the people say, I don't mind, their chickens run all over my yard, that's okay, but the rooster wakes me up at 4 o'clock every single morning, and I have to go to work. And she said, but I don't have to go to work that early. And she said, I don't want to get up that early. And she's talked to the people, and these are a couple people, one person, yes, they took care of it, they got rid of the rooster. That's fine. The chicken still ran all over the place. The other place, they didn't, and the person practically cries every time I see her, so. If you like roosters, that's fine, but in an RA neighborhood, RA 20, RA 30, your houses are kind of close, and you got to be cognizant of your neighbors, that's all.
thank you, yes.
Richard Britton, District 4, also a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals. We've had to sit through a number of these, but not so much about chickens, but about roosters. And if people want to complain, it's going to be about roosters. And, you know, it's one thing to have chickens, but, man, when they come in to start complaining about roosters, you're opening up a Pandora's box, believe me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Britton. So the question, I believe, on the floor right now is Caroline Young's proposed amendment to include roosters, and we have not yet voted on that. If we are now ready to do so, we can do it as an amendment.
To include roosters?
This would be to...
Strike, but no roosters.
Strike, okay, strike, but no roosters.
Strike the prohibition on roosters.
And
You need that in writing?
Her motion was.
yes, Ms. Young wanted to include roosters, correct?
No.
So it would strike the no roosters part?
Strike no roosters part.
So
Oh, okay,
a
yes.
yes vote would allow roosters, a no vote
Right.
wouldn't.
So we're voting on Caroline's amendment.
Amendment.
Is it open?
Oh.
Is everybody,
so just to be-
sorry, but is everybody clear? Can we?
Yes.
What a yes vote would do and what a no
If you
vote?
vote
Mr.
yes,
Carlino, yes.
if you're voting
Go ahead,
yes, you're
Mr. Pell.
striking but no roosters. You're voting for roosters.
Right. This is the pro-rooster vote as an amendment to Article 13.
Okay, so
So if you vote yes, you're pro-rooster in this current vote, and the vote is now open. Yes is for the rooster, no is opposed to the rooster.
our names are gone.
Classic town, small town.
Oh, and, well, anyway, our names aren't appearing right now because
It might have been because of the amendment.
it's an amendment,
Just check
right?
your- Just check your number.
Voicemail.
You have a number on your badge, so if you're curious.
It will register on the back end, so.
So we're voting Caroline's amendment, okay.
So we can vote by clicker. The vote is open, and we can close the vote now. All the reds are no's, so that looks to me like the motion to amend has failed. That brings us back to the main Article 13, and without further ado, we can open that vote as well.
We're going back to the main.
This is the main, yeah.
So Article 13, you'll be voting on that now, and you'll be voting on it as it is written in the current warrant.
I don't like this.
I think we already know.
Yeah, I don't like this vote.
So a yes vote is Okay, we have technical prowess coming to
There's
to
a
the
number
front.
on the back that corresponds with that. I'm not sure why it's not showing the use. Yeah. Yeah.
Clickers are great
Until they
until
die.
they're not.
All right, so we will switch course here, and we will take a voice vote. We'll close this, and we will take a voice vote. Because we are that sophisticated. So pay no attention to the screen right now. If you're in favor of Article 13, let me hear you.
Aye.
Okay, if you are opposed to Article 13, let me also hear you. Okay. All right, so I'm going to say that Article 13 just passed by a majority.
Two-thirds.
Two-thirds it passed.
So there were two nays, right?
I believe there were 2 nays, and
So the clerk could put that in there.
so as soon as we tweak things, we will proceed to Article 14, rather.
Ready?
If you could just bear with me, Madam Chair, for one moment.
You know, actually, I don't remember at this point.
I think she called a voice vote to make those amendments.
Look at that.
Madam
Wonderful.
Moderator, I just had a question.
Thank you, yes.
We did a voice vote on the amendment for the site plan special permit amendments, right?
Yes,
All right,
correct.
because I lost track of that. All right. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Thank you. So yes, Madam Chair, thank you.
14. Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw, Section 6.1B and E, as published in the special town meeting warrant relating to special permits to extend non-conforming structures, signs, uses, and abandonments.
Second.
Please.
This one is because we have used the words special permit in many, many contexts. And there's one general context which is used for new uses that are being proposed in areas where they might be troublesome. And so some board or another has to do a special permit review. And when it does, it is required by law to make 5 particular findings on 5 special issues that are stated in the state law. This is another kind of case where we also have the word special permit used. And so the board was unsure as to whether we needed to make findings 1 and 2 as shown here, or also the other 5, which sometimes really aren't even appropriate to the situation in this section. And so this amendment allows the board to determine which of the 5, if any, are relevant, and then to vote on those 5. But they would also always have to vote on criteria 1 and 2.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on Article 14? Okay. Then we can proceed to vote on Article 14. The vote is open. And the vote will now close. It looks like Article 14 passes, I think, unanimously. Okay, okay. Article 14 passes, and that brings us to Article 15.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw section 7.5 as published in the special town meeting warrant relating to non-conforming signs.
Second.
Madam Moderator, this amendment slightly relaxes the special rules that apply only to signs that are seeking to get repainted or repaired when they are non-conforming to the sign bylaw. It allows for repainting and rewording without any particular difficulties on the part of the owner. It does, however, retain the existing provision regarding 35% replacement cost. If the sign is severely deteriorated and it's a freestanding sign, then you would have to bring it into compliance. But otherwise, even a deteriorated building sign on the side of your business would not have to be brought into compliance. So it's relaxed in a couple of ways.
Thank you. Yes, discussion on Article 15. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Catherine Hibbard. I live in Laurel Street. I'm in District 6.
Thank you.
And I understand the intent of this, but I think you might be overlooking some cases where this might be detrimental to the neighbors. Up on Laurel Street, we have the roadway in. It has an existing non-conforming sign. It is internally lit, which makes it non-conforming. It's not just sizes of signs that make them non-conforming. This one's internally lit. On 2 separate occasions, the neighbors have opposed this sign upon review of different things going on at the hotel. The first time, we were told that it was grandfathered in because they just put a new facade on, which would equate to just kind of rewarding the sign. And the second time, we had a site review with it when it was bought by the American Inn just this summer, and they have since sold the property, and we don't know what's going to happen next. So it could occur that someone comes in and they want to just put new wording on that sign. It will still be internally lit. It's very objectionable to the neighbors, the Delormes, the Consolatis. It butts our property. It's very, and the one next door is very objectionable to neighbors. So although I understand this, I think it is too broad in its effect and what it will do, and it could have detrimental effects on the neighbors. And so I would rather have the onus be on the person changing the sign rather than the neighbors having to live with something that's been lawfully existing but is objectionable to them. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further comment, any questions about that? Okay, thank you. We will proceed now to vote on Article 15. The vote is open. And the vote will now close. So Article 15 passes. 2 are opposed, and looks like 2 have abstained. This brings us now to Article 16. Yes. I'm sorry?
It's a 2/3 vote.
Oh, yes, and I, for some reason, we're not seeing the total numbers. I think visually that looks like 2/3.
It does calculate it at 2/3, yeah. 38 to 2 to 2. Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
36, sorry, yeah, 36.
Thank you.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw section 7.6 as established in the special town meeting warrant relating to administration of sign permits.
Please.
Madam Moderator, the town separates the procedures for permanent signs and for temporary signs. This amendment does really nothing substantial to temporary signs, which are issued by the selectmen, but it revises the procedures for issuance of permanent sign permits, which is currently before the planning board. When the planning board reviews these applications, we do essentially a ministerial task. We look to see whether the sign is too large for the zone that it's in, whether it's set back a sufficient distance, whether it's lighted in the proper manner. And all of that can be done, and in my opinion, ought to be done by an administrative official, since there's really no judgment required. This proposal transfers that responsibility to the building commissioner, who is also the enforcer for the zoning bylaw in other ways, and also for the building code. And in order to make sure that the task is not undertaken too lightly, it requires that the building commissioner issue a report after issuing a permit explaining that all of the criteria for granting a sign permit have been met.
Thank you. Any comments, questions, any discussion on Article 16? Are we ready for to vote now on Article 16? We will proceed to the vote. Okay. And we will close the vote. And it looks like that's a unanimous vote, which I believe right now is 38. Okay, thank you. So we can now take up Article 17. Thank you.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to repeal existing zoning bylaw subsections 1.3.3 site plan review and 1.3.4 special permits and replace them with new subsections as published in the special town meeting warrant.
Second.
Madam Moderator, this is a big long-term project that the board has worked on for a number of years, more than I want to remember, actually. The project is to coordinate the two big kinds of reviews that we do and to simplify and make it a little easier to go through a site plan review. Let me talk about the site plan review first, since that's the first thing before you on page 26. The site plan review, as has been explained, is a relatively simple process, but if you read it in the bylaw, it's enormously complicated. Their applications can require a couple of dozen things. Signatures of registered professional engineers. It's all designed for basically, approving a battleship of a project. And very few projects that the planning board sees are actually at anywhere near this scale. And in fact, we often just accept somebody's scrawled few words written on the application form and a hand-drawn map of their lot with some dimensions sketched in. So we've accepted very informal submissions routinely, and we do a lot of these, and very few of them are really substantial. So rather than continue the process that we have, which is to waive strict site plan review on virtually every site plan we see, we thought it would work better if we actually explain to the public in advance that there is a thing called a minor site plan review, that most of them, we expect that most of them will be minor, and that the process is simplified and the application doesn't have to include everything that's listed in the current bylaw. This also solves a couple of other minor problems. One is that in a few cases, actually in quite a few cases, we are required to decide a site plan once it's been submitted within 30 days of submission. But we only meet twice a month, and we're supposed to send copies of the site plan around to other boards that often meet once a month. So the existing process is sort of internally inconsistent. It requires us to consult with people who don't have time to answer us. So we fixed a few of these little problems. In the special permit area, we've coordinated it with this new site plan section, and we've explained how when a special permit is required, as it sometimes is, of the Zoning Board of Appeals or from the selectmen, that this initial site plan by the planning board would be advisory and done before the special permit process begins for real at the final board, the ZBA or the selectmen, as the case may be. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's any question, comment, any discussion or debate about Article 16?
18?
I'm sorry,
17.
17. Yeah, you're right, 17.
17, thank you. And seeing none, hearing none, we will open the vote. And we will close the vote. And Article 17 passes unanimously, which brings us now to Article 18.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend zoning bylaw section 16.3 as published in the special town meeting warrant, correcting a typographical error made previously.
Second.
Madam Moderator, this is simple. When we established the Smart Growth Overlay District, we forgot to list one of the lots that should have been included, and so this repairs that defect.
Thank you. Does anyone have any strong feeling about that they would like to come forward and discuss? Okay. We will vote now on Article 18. To correct a typographical error. So the vote is open. And the vote will now close. And that is a beautiful thing. So Article 18 passes unanimously, bringing us to Article 19.
Madam Moderator, I move that the town vote to amend the zoning bylaw Appendix A, Table 2, as published in the special town meeting warrant relating to dimensional requirements for multifamily housing in the CBC zone.
Second.
Madam Moderator, we have in our existing bylaw two tables of dimensional requirements, Table 1 and Table 2. Table 2 is for multiple dwellings only, and it has an omission in it. It's the people who prepared the existing table apparently thought that the CBC district could not possibly have multiple dwellings, and it turns out that it can. And so we're suggesting setback and area numbers that are consistent with the rest of Table 2 for other similar districts.
Thank you, Mr. Blum. Is there any discussion about Article 19?
Just before we leave, do this and we leave, Matt said earlier with Peter, all the work he's done. I'd like to thank all the members of the planning board on this. It's just amazing to get through this. It's been put off for years, literally. Now it's off our plate. We have our resident advisor, Gordon Bailey, has always been there for help. And every member, and nothing says small town more than arguing about roosters. And that was classic. I mean, it was classic New England. I love it.
That is the truth. So we are voting on our last Article 19. The vote is open. And the vote will now close. And that is a beautiful thing. Article 19 passes unanimously.
Can I ask something?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes.
It's not about Article 19, but I would like to ask for whoever's running for select board, I would ask if you have some kind of discussion or debate or something so that I can be more informed about the people running. No, not tonight, but somewhere. I would
Thank
like
you.
to really hear from you.
Thank you. And I believe we need a motion to dissolve the meeting.
Move to dissolve.
Second.
The meeting is dissolved, and please return your clickers. Thank you. Have a good night.